Kandid shop. We speaking on things you not. Just press play and let it rock. Hey, welcome to the Kandid shop. Whoa, welcome to the Kandid shop. We speaking on things you not. Just press play and let it rock. Hey, welcome to the Kandid shop. Oh, feel like we going through mad things. Gotta keep it real when they choose not. We gon' talk about it when the news drop. Welcome to the show where you know we don't fake this. Keep your opinion to yourself if it don't make sense.
Hey, Podcast Nation, it's your girl, Candidly Kristen, and this is the Kandid Shop. Today, I am super duper excited to be sitting down for a candid chat about gun ownership, gun violence, gun safety, and just guns in general with founder and CEO of Safetyman Consulting LLC, Mr. Corey Jones. Welcome, Corey, to the Kandid Shop.
Hey, welcome. Thanks for having me, Kristen. I really appreciate it.
No problem. I live in New Jersey, so my morning TV show is Good Day Philadelphia, and I saw you on a segment, and I said, "Oh, I have got to have him on my show." And so from that time to this, I've reached out and connected with you, and here you are. And this is an important topic to me. Number one, because I live in close proximity to Philadelphia, where the incidences of gun violence and carjackings and just crime in general seems to be on the rise. Active shooter situations seem to be on the rise. Crimes committed with a firearm in general, and more people legally buying and owning guns. I really wanted to have this important discussion with you. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. And that is probably 50% of what my business consists of now is training private citizens as well as law enforcement and security officers, but focusing really on private citizens, giving them the knowledge, the education, and the know-how to be able to legally, tactically, and morally use a firearm in self-defense of themselves and family or others.
Nice. So I guess my first question is, and from so my listeners know who you are, tell me the why and the what of Safety Man Consulting, how it came to be, why you thought it was important to have an organization or business like this.
That's one of my favorite questions, Kristen. I really appreciate that. I was a police officer for 27 years, and
Okay.
during that time, I was fortunate and blessed enough to be able to go to a lot of schools and a lot of training. I was able to interact with a lot of the big federal three-letter agencies, some of the big state agencies like LAPD, NYPD, ESU, New Jersey State Police, SWAT, a bunch of those agencies. And I took the best from what they were able to offer and use that to train the local agencies in New Jersey and in specifically Burlington County. Then
Okay.
when I retired in 2018, I transitioned to training local businesses, schools, houses of worship in active shooter and crisis management response. And then, as you're probably aware, in 2020, when the pandemic started, and then
Mm-hmm.
we had that civil unrest, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of citizens were scared and were buying firearms for protection, but they realized they had no training. So, fortunately, a lot of them sought me out.
Nice. So I've got a couple stats here really quickly.
Mhm.
According to the 2021 National Firearm Survey, 32% of Americans say they personally own a firearm, and that equates to more than 81.4 million Americans who own a gun or guns. Do you think that that is a good or bad thing?
I think if I were a criminal and
Hmm.
I knew I was going to an area where a high percentage of the population had concealed carry, I may think twice about committing a violent crime against somebody in that vicinity. I would
Okay.
be more likely to go to a place where I know concealed carry was illegal or
Okay.
unapproved, and those would be easier victims, easier targets.
So you mentioned concealed carry. That's always been a question of mine. Now, I know that there are, and I'm doing air quotes, open carry states, municipalities, as opposed to concealed carry. Is one or the other? I don't know that I want to live in a town where people are walking around with guns on their hips, but I also don't know if I want to be where I don't know where guns are, but people have them. So, in your opinion, which is better in terms of the general population and how people feel just walking down the street?
My opinion on that's going to be kind of skewed because I
Hmm.
was born, raised, and worked in New Jersey, where
Okay.
until July, until the Supreme Court Bruin decision came out, there was never concealed carry in New Jersey or open carry.
Right.
Guns were only allowed to be owned by private citizens in their own homes. So
Okay.
whenever we dealt with a citizen with a gun, they were typically under arrest. So we're
Okay.
not used to seeing those types of things on people. As far as your specific question, open carry, concealed carry, they both have their pluses and minuses. I
Hmm.
go back to my initial example. If you're a criminal walking down the street, picking a female to do a violent crime to, and you see she has a 45 strapped to her hip, are you
Right.
going to make a different choice of a victim?
Yeah.
Absolutely. That
Yeah.
would be crazy. It'd be insane. You'd be a terrible criminal for
Right.
picking on somebody who has a gun on his or her hip. So
True.
that has the pluses and minuses. The
Okay.
concealed carry, you won't be targeted by somebody who's an active shooter or a criminal looking to take out the people who may be able to protect the innocents because they see that gun in your hip.
Right.
And you won't make people nervous because, again, we are in New Jersey and safety is one thing, but the feeling or the perception of your personal safety is, to me, equally important. So if people feel and perceive that they are safe because there's not anything out flagging their concern, that's a
Right.
good thing.
Got it. Got it. So whenever I am sitting down for a chat with somebody in my preliminary research of them, if they have a website, I kind of go and poke around. And I was perusing your website, which I like a lot.
Thank
And
you.
there was a statement on there. It says, "If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready." So expand on how that statement intersects with what you do.
Oh, my favorite example of that is, would you put your seatbelt on before, during, or after your motor vehicle crash?
Hmm.
You would put it on before your motor vehicle crash. So that means you are staying ready. You
Right.
are ready. You don't have to get ready. We all know it's impossible in the middle of a crash to try and reach up, put that seatbelt on, and then say you had to go and activate your airbag manually so it would come out when the
Right.
crash actually happened. Those would
Right.
be ridiculous, and we would never stand for that as American citizens. So I
Right.
take that same concept, mindset, and transfer that to making my clients ready, whether it be active shooter, crisis management, carrying a firearm, home defense, fire protection plans, anything you want that is your concerns, goals, or objectives. I develop a plan specific to you or your team to make sure that you are ready for that.
Okay.
And that's why, because I want you to be able to focus your brain power on the actual emergency, not trying to come up with some plan that you've never trained for, thought about, or considered.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about gun ownership, gun safety, and really specifically law enforcement interaction while you're carrying a legally owned firearm.
Yes. So law enforcement in New Jersey is going through a learning curve right now. I
Okay.
was just reached out to by a few different law enforcement agencies asking me what I'm teaching my private citizen clients. Should they be contacted by law enforcement in the course of their duties because either they see a weapon, somebody reports that they have a weapon, or they actually had to brandish or use that weapon in a self-defense situation.
Okay.
And my one word is comply. I've been
Mm.
teaching comply to inner city youth when they're dealing with police. I've been teaching comply for my private citizens when they deal with police. And I'm teaching comply now with my concealed carry applicants when they deal with police. Comply. Even if the officer is making a poor choice or is unaware of the law saying that you can have this weapon in this place and do these things with it, you
Hmm.
comply, fight it in court, and you'll likely come out on top. And you might even get a civil payout for that.
Okay. Okay. And gun safety as it pertains to gun ownership. What should that look like? What if I've gotten my permit, I've taken classes, I purchased a gun, I have it. What what should private citizens be doing in terms of responsible gun ownership and gun safety?
One thing is reading. If you have children,
Hmm.
read the level of maturity of the children in your household who periodically visit your household. Do we want them to know it's there and remove the mystery, or do we want to hide it, lock it up, and keep it away, which is going to be safer for an accidental usage, but it may hinder your ability to get it in the event of an actual emergency, a home invasion, or something like that.
Okay.
So, education is key. Locking the gun up is key. You can't buy a gun in New Jersey that doesn't come with at least a lock in it that makes it impossible without a key to chamber around or fire it. So
Okay.
every gun comes with that. Shotgun, rifle, handgun, they all come with that. Beyond that, I recommend my clients get a specific handgun safe, put it next to their nightstand. You can actually bolt it to your nightstand so somebody can't steal it. It
Okay.
has RFID, fingerprint, just like your iPhone, or it has a 3, 4, 5 digit code where you can access that weapon. It
Okay.
also has the ability to determine if someone's just randomly trying codes or trying to pry it. It beeps, it shuts itself down, it makes a loud noise. So it's really preventative from prying hands who aren't supposed to have access to that weapon to get to it. So I have to balance safety and accessibility in an emergency.
Got it. And how important is spending time learning how to use the weapon?
If I gave you a violin, could you play Chopin for me?
Nope.
So if I gave you a gun, you would not really effectively be able to load, chamber, aim,
Right.
fire accurately, give the appropriate verbal commands, scan your area, handle any malfunctions, reload if you need to, and then interact with citizens, law enforcement officers, your loved ones, or anything after that situation because your stress level is going to be high.
Right.
So training is paramount. I've been training police officers and SWAT teams for 20 years. I train with Navy SEALs, some of the best war fighters in the best, take some out, the best war fighters in the world. And the amount of rounds that they put downrange and train, and they've been imparting on me is just taken my level from 27 years of law enforcement. They've taken my level even higher. So continual training
Got
makes
it.
it better.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. Um, you mentioned verbal commands. Can
Yes.
you explain that to me and my listeners what that means?
Yes. So the Attorney General, who is the chief law enforcement officer in the state of New Jersey, has developed a use of force policy. And that use of force policy is the law of the state of New Jersey. It's
For
based
private
on,
citizens.
no, this is for everybody who uses
Okay. All
force,
right.
for law
Got it.
enforcement, private citizens, security guards, anybody who's using force in the state of New Jersey must abide by this use of force policy. It's
Got it.
on the Attorney General's website. So when I teach my clients, I teach from the PowerPoint that the Attorney General created. And
Okay.
in that, it says that when feasible, you must give a warning to the person that you are about to use force, so
Mhm.
stop their aggressive actions. Now, it
Okay.
says when feasible.
Right.
There may be a situation where, let's just say, somebody has somebody that you care about at gunpoint, and if you alert them that you're about to use deadly force, they may go ahead and execute that person. So
Mhm.
in that aspect, you'd be able to articulate and explain clearly to a jury, a judge, or a grand jury that it was not feasible for me to alert that person and warn them that I was about to end their ability to use deadly force. So
Right.
the verbal commands I teach are very basic. Stop, get out of my house, I have a gun. And I want
Mhm.
you to echo that and give it loud, repetitive verbal commands for several reasons. Number one, I want the bad guy or bad guys to hear it. I want to give them the ability to retreat, to stop
Mhm.
their aggressive actions. I don't
Okay.
want to take a life if I don't have to.
Right.
Number two, if somebody else in the house is on the phone with 911, we know that 911 is recording everything. So they're going
Right.
to hear that in the background. So that's
Yeah.
going to help protect you legally. I
Okay.
want you yelling so loud that your neighbors at 2 o'clock in the morning hear you screaming, "Stop, get out of my house. I have a
Okay.
gun. I will shoot you." So that's evidence to help you in a court of law. And then morally, if you can say to yourself and you can look at yourself in the mirror and your family can look at you and say, Daddy gave every opportunity for this bad guy to stop his aggressive actions, and he
Okay.
forced Daddy to have to use deadly force to protect us from his aggressive actions.
Got it. Got it. Thank you for that. That was something I didn't know, and I'm sure a lot of people that hear this do not know. So earlier I mentioned the rise in the incidences of gun violence, crimes committed against citizens with guns, carjackings, and all that, active shooters. Do you, in your personal opinion, believe that private citizen gun ownership is the solution to curing the gun violence issues we're experiencing? And the follow-up to that is, if personal gun ownership is not the solution, what is?
That's a multi-pronged approach. That's kind of like going to
Yeah.
the hospital with the disease. They're going to do a lot of things, going to do a lot of testing, going to give you some drugs, going to give you some therapy. They're going to do a lot of things for you. I think bad guys knowing that more people, private citizens, potential victims have guns will make them think twice, make them look at that victim, look at that victim's attitude, mentality, the way they carry themselves, the way they're expressing situational awareness, all that training that I give my clients, that may make them a harder victim. So it could reduce the fact that they're going to be targeted. Number
Okay.
two, if bad guys are being encountered, are being counter assaulted with people with firearms, either pointing at them or using them, that's going to be one less criminal that's going to be out there committing a crime, because either he's going to be injured, dead, or he's going to go to prison because he had to go to hospital to get checked out for his gunshot wound.
Right.
But the true crime is, I think, is the breakdown of the American family, where we have these young men out there in these cities that don't have positive male role models. So they're getting the role models of the instant fix, the instant gratification, the guy on the corner that has the money, the girls, the cars, the cash, the gold jewelry, and the respect of everybody in the community. And they think that that's the way to get it, and they would get initiated into that culture. A lot of times they have to go out and commit a violent or a type of a crime. So I
Okay.
think it's going to be a multi-pronged approach to try and end this pandemic of gun violence.
Okay. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly that it is not one single solution, but a layered approach to stemming this tide of violence. Give me your thoughts on assault weapons, the guns that we're seeing in these active shooter situations, and legal ownership of those.
I would equate that to another analogy that I often use. We have drunk drivers that drive cars and kill and injure people through no fault of the victim.
Right.
If we were to take every car from every citizen because a few people did something bad with a car because they were drunk and they made a poor choice, that would be ridiculous, ineffective, and unacceptable. So
Hmm.
I think that the same policy of restricting somebody like me or somebody like my clients who are law-abiding citizens, they've had background investigations, they've had mental health checks, they've gone through my course. There's multiple vetting processes. A superior court judge has to eventually sign off on their ability to get a gun in the state of New Jersey. So I agree with universal, realistic, common sense background investigations and gun ownership qualifications, where you have to take a course and prove that you have the mental and physical capacity to use any type of firearm. I
Okay.
agree that a shotgun or an AR-15, which people call an assault weapon, AR
Hmm.
actually doesn't stand for assault rifle, it stands for Armalite Rifle, is a company
Oh,
that originally made it, but a lot of people think it stands for assault rifle. Every
yep.
every gun is made to assault somebody. So
Right.
just because it looks scary, it's really good for home defense. You can put up to 30 rounds in it to give you the ability to and it's more accurate. It fires at a faster rate. You can put lights and stuff on it. It just makes it a much more effective caliber. The rounds that you can buy for it have less of a chance of over penetrating the bad guy or your interior walls and creating injury or property damage to your neighbors. So
Oh,
assault rifles are good for that.
oh, didn't know that. So I'm learning all kinds of stuff. All
Mhm.
right. So let's talk a little bit about active shooter scenarios.
Mhm.
What can someone like me or someone listening to this show do if we're ever in a situation like Buffalo, Uvalde, or any active shooter scenario? What can we do? Should we be doing?
The first thing you want to do is, like we're doing right now, we're thinking about it, we're talking about it. You
Mhm.
want to make a plan, almost make it a game. Okay,
Okay.
you and your family, you and your friends go out someplace. Take the first 45 seconds when you get there. It's going to be annoying at first, but
Right.
somebody has to be the leader. Somebody has to tell everybody in the car to put the seatbelts on. Somebody
Right.
has to tell everybody to do something that not everybody wants to do. So somebody has to be the leader and said, all right, we're going to do the three threes. We're going to find three places we can exit if there's an emergency, an active shooter, a fire, active terrorism, a bomb, something happens. We're going to find 3 places that we can hide and secure ourselves so we can be safe. And we're going to find 3 improvised weapons if it's our job to go and attack, disable, disarm, or distract this active shooter, like just
Okay.
happened in Colorado at the nightclub. 2
Mm-hmm.
patrons who were unarmed went up and did those 3 Ds that I've been teaching my houses of worship, that I've vetted and trained with Navy SEALs and Army Rangers, to make the best thing we can do to give unarmed citizens in the worst situation the best thing that we can give them. I can't give them AR-15s in the middle of an active shooter. So the
Right.
best thing I can do is give them these 3 Ds: distract this active shooter, throw heavy things at his face, get him off his mission,
Mm-hmm.
disarm this active shooter, which they did. They removed the weapons from him, and
Mm-hmm.
then they disabled him until law enforcement got there and kept him on the ground and assaulted him and punched him in the face and hit him in the face with his own gun and kept him from killing more people. So pre-plan, get your 3 threes, 3 exits, 3 places to hide, 3 improvised weapons, and then think about, are you the type of person, do you have it within you to go and move forward, run to danger, and attack this person to protect your
Right.
friends, family, team members, workmates, and so forth? Or are you going to run and hide? Either one
Right.
is okay, but you have to make that decision now.
Right. So this you need to treat, unfortunately, uh, planning for an active shooter scenario similar to fire drills at home.
Exactly. If you don't
Okay.
plan it, you can't make it up as you're going along. What's the first thing they tell you on an airplane, right? They give you all the safety instructions on an
Yep.
airplane. But how
Yep.
many airplane crashes have you and I been in? 0.
0.
Airplane travel is very safe, but
Right.
they still take the time to tell you where the exits are. They physically come and ask you, you're in an exit row. I need a verbal yes. Can you help
Yes.
with this exit, right?
Right.
Your
Yep.
seat cushion. Don't put your vest inflated until you get out of the plane. Take your shoes off. Do this, do that. They
Mm-hmm.
give you that. They make you think of that every time in the event there's an emergency.
Yes,
And
they
then
do.
when the emergency happens, if you look at the video from Captain Sullenberger when he had to land his plane in the Hudson River,
Mm-hmm.
they did a fantastic job
Yes,
of
they
getting
did.
everybody off of that plane with no deaths and very minor injuries, because they trained, they planned, they had it ready. Heads down, stay down, brace, brace, brace. And they said it
Right.
over and over and over again, and then worked and got everybody off that plane because they had a plan and they thought about it.
Yep. I agree because I I work for a Jewish organization, and they're always and I manage a apartment building. So
Mhm.
I'm always wondering or concerned with, and they're seniors on top of all of that. They're all seniors over 62. So I'm considering doing some kind of active shooter training at the building. Not sure, these are all they're seniors. So, but I think it's important that they're aware that, Jewish places of worship and are often targets for this kind of thing. We have never been, and knock on wood, I hope that we never are, but I don't want them to be caught unaware.
Yeah,
So
so we can definitely talk offline about that, because that is,
okay.
like I said, that is what I started my business for, was training people in active shooters. So we can definitely talk offline about that. I can give you numerous options of how we can accomplish anything from education to training and anything in between.
Awesome, awesome. I would definitely like to do that. So tell me, what is on the horizon for Corey and Safety Man Consulting? You got any books, events? What's going on? What's in your pipeline for you and the company?
It's funny you say book. I would love to write a book, but I type with 2 fingers. So I would never be, if I could pay somebody to talk to them and they write the book for me, that might be effective. My goal is to kind of do what I'm doing now, is to be invited to speak, to give my knowledge, experience, and training and insight to people to keep them safe. My real goal is to be a keynote speaker, is to have people invite me into a stadium, come in, speak for an hour or two, encourage them, give them some techniques, some insight, some motivation that they can, if they choose to train and prepare to protect themselves, and then to continue doing what I'm doing. I work for a bunch of different companies, from Bolo Wrap, which is a non-lethal remote restraint pre-escalation device that law enforcement uses, where we
Mm,
can take somebody into custody with creating 0 injury. We have hundreds of uses in the field with police departments all around the world with zero injuries related to the actual bowler wrap. And I'm a master instructor for them. I've been wrapped by this device over 100 times, zero injuries. I work for Verbal Judo. So I teach law enforcement officers and private companies how to de-escalate people. So hopefully we can reduce force, reduce liability, and improve outcomes. You
Yes.
know, I work for resiliency. So I try to teach resiliency to anybody who's on the front line, from law enforcement, first responders, nurses, doctors, teachers, people, flight attendants, people who are experiencing a lot of either physical or emotional trauma, to try to prepare them to deal with it, and then give them techniques to cope with it after it happens.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'd come to a keynote that you were doing. I sure would. So I want right now for you to give me your last thoughts and best tips and advice for anyone who's listening who may already own a gun, is seeking to own a gun. I think because my son is like, Mom, you're there by yourself and you need to get a gun. And I'm like, I don't know if that's what I want to do, but then I don't want to be in a situation where, I'm standing here with, toilet paper rolls in my hand and somebody's coming in my house. So just speak directly to my listeners about what's your best advice on gun ownership and if they're looking to do that.
I stole this from somebody. His name is Lee Morrison. He's from the UK, and he is just a fantastic urban defense coach. He
Mm.
trains private citizens, law enforcement, special forces in this. And he gave me these 3 questions to ask people who are on the fence of whether they want to take training or get devices to protect themselves, from a gun to a taser to pepper spray or anything like that. They said, what would you be willing to do to protect your family in
Mm.
the event of emergency? If you didn't have a gun, would you hit somebody in the head with a bat, a giant ashtray? Would you do something to protect your family? And
Right.
most people say yes. Then I ask, what would you do to protect yourself? Would you hit somebody with an ashtray, a baseball bat, a pipe? Would you shoot them if they dropped their gun and now they were getting another one, or a knife, and then you were able to pick it up? And most
Hmm.
people, when I really press them on it, they say yes. And I
Right.
say, now here's the big question. How would you feel knowing that you failed to protect yourself, and now your family is at your funeral looking at your body in a coffin because you chose not to take steps to protect yourself? Who's going to provide for them? Who's going to care for them? Nobody can do that better than you. So
Mm.
once I get people in that mindset to realize that they have a lot to lose if they fail to take the steps to protect themselves and their families, they tend to come across to making that decision. And then I invite people, and I would extend this offer to you, to come to the range with me. You can shoot my gun free of charge, no charge, and just to see how you feel about it. See how
Hmm.
it affects you, see how you do with it, and then you can make a better decision. Hearing it go off, feeling it in your hands, seeing
Right.
how accurate you are, getting a quick lesson on the techniques and everything, and then you can make that decision on your own.
Got it. Okay. I'm gonna take you up on that offer too. So listen, how can my listeners connect with you and Safety Man Consulting?
Really easy, safetyman.co, no M.
Mm.
Safetyman.co is my website, or at safetymanco on all social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere, YouTube, safetymanco, at safetymanco. You can see all my videos, all my podcasts. Go to my website. You can schedule training right through my website, and
Nice.
you can even schedule a free consultation. I offer
Okay.
free consultations for people to call. I'm not quite sure what they want to do. They can do all those things. So safetyman.co or at safetymanco on all social media.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Corey, for giving me this portion of your day. I really, really appreciate you sharing your time, your expertise with me and my listeners. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I just want to commend you. I mean, this is a fantastic interview. I love your style. I love
Thank
the questions that you asked, I can tell that you did your homework, that they're really well thought out. So I really appreciate it. And, I pray that your career explodes. I pray that my career explodes in a
you.
good way, and that maybe
Yes.
we can come together again and be keynote speakers
Yeah.
at an event.
Wouldn't that be awesome? I'm
Yes,
looking
it
forward
would.
to that. So listen, guys, all of Corey and Safety Man Consulting contact info is going to be in the show notes with clickable links, so you can click right from the show notes and get popped onto his website, his YouTube channel. All of it will be in the show notes. And please do not forget me. Don't forget to go to www.thekandidshop.com. And this one is with an M and Candid with a K. Listen to an episode or three, drop me a review, sign up for my mailing list, and like, follow, share, and tell your friends about the show. Please and thank you. So, Corey Jones, thank you again. I appreciate your time. I appreciate what you do. I appreciate the information. These show notes are going to be so full of bullets with all of the little things that you talked about, the 3Ds. It's going to be loaded with info so people can have it and look at it visually and not have to like stop and go back to hear what you said. It'll all be in the show notes. So thank you again for joining me on the show.
Thank you. Stay safe. And as always, be ready.
All right, guys, until next time, I want you all to keep it safe, keep it healthy, and keep it candid.